Hello and welcome to RealBand 2012.5. In this video we're going to show you some of the great new features in RealBand 2012.5, and along the way we'll also show you some of the fantastic new 101 RealTracks from RealTracks Sets 155 through 169, like these great Texas blues rock styles from set 156. One of the most exciting new additions with RealBand 2012.5 are MIDI SuperTracks. Like RealTracks, MIDI SuperTracks are actual performances by real studio musicians, but because they are MIDI recordings, you have complete control over the sounds by picking your favorite synth or VST plugin to play them. And you also have complete control over the individual notes with full editing capability. We're actually using a MIDI SuperTracks style here. You can see that all of these tracks, the guitars, bass, and drums, are all audio RealTracks and appear as waveforms. This piano track, however, is a MIDI track and appears as a piano roll. This is a MIDI SuperTracks style. So for a piano patch, we have it playing through Garrett and Jazz and Big Band with the area player. And if we wanted to, we could edit any of the notes on the track. And you can tell just by listening that this is a real musician playing here. This MIDI SuperTracks style was recorded by Nashville pop, rock, and country legend John Jarvis. We'll look into MIDI SuperTracks in more detail later in the video. As is the case with everything you hear in this video, what you're hearing right now was created simply by entering chords like A, D, E, or any other chords you might want, like D minor 7 flat 5 or G7 flat 9, then picking the style and the tempo and pressing generate. All of this was done in less than a minute, and RealBand then created what you're hearing in seconds based on the chords, tempo, and style. And this goes for the RealTracks, the Real Drums, and the MIDI SuperTracks. We then went even further and added RealTracks soloists, with Brent Mason soloing from bar 73 to 85, and Sol Philcox soloing from bars 85 to 97. Like the other RealTracks, these were generated based on the chords over these bars, and they can play over any chords you enter into RealBand. You can add as many RealTracks as you like, either over the whole song or in sections like these. And RealBand is a fully featured digital audio workstation, or DAW, so you can record up to 48 of your own audio or MIDI tracks as well, either from scratch, or you can combine your own tracks with RealTracks, MIDI SuperTracks, or old school band-in-a-box styles. Some of the other new features in RealBand 2012.5 include easier looping of regions, improvements to the Metronome, the event list, the favorite folder, the chords window, and the jukebox player. We'll look at all of these in the video, but for now let's check out some other new RealTracks styles. By popular request, we've added 2 sets of Afro-Cuban RealTracks styles, including this bolero. And this Son Montuno style. This features 2 new RealTracks instruments we've never had before, the Cuban tres and the baby bass. The tres is a traditional Cuban instrument with doubled strings much like a mandolin or 12-string guitar, but with its own distinct sound. The baby bass is an electric upright bass, substantially smaller than a standard bass. It was designed in the 60s with the intention of being a substitute for acoustic basses among jazz players. The tone wasn't quite right for jazz, but it's perfect for the percussion-driven combos of Cuban music. A new feature with RealBand 2012.5 is that RealTracks styles can be made that anticipate chords by a full quarter note. This isn't called for in many genres, but it's essential for the bass part in this and other Afro-Cuban grooves. RealTracks 158 features modern dance pop styles. These sound great on their own, but can also be used with other RealTracks to make inventive new crossover styles. For example, I'll add a bluegrass fiddle to the mix here. And we now have a techno country style. RealTracks Set 169 features 4 different instruments soloing over 4 different country grooves, including this laid-back 12/8 style. And we're continuing our jazz funk collection with this up-tempo move-in groove. This set features the rhythm section you're hearing here, as well as soloists, electric piano, and this tenor sax. This set has 2 options for bass, both performed by first call LA session player Alex Al. There's a standard fretted bass, but in this demo we're using the other option, fretless bass. There are many more great new RealTracks sets as well, including Dixieland, Western Swing soloists, Mike LeDunn Jazz Waltz organ, and more. Right now though, we're going to check out some of the great new features in RealBand 2012.5. We touched a little bit on MIDI superstyles at the beginning, so I'm now going to show you them in more detail. There are several ways to use them, either by loading band-in-a-box songs that have MIDI superstyles loaded in them, or using band-in-a-box styles that automatically load them, or you can just use them individually, adding them to any track you like. I'll show you that to start with. I'm going to stop this demo and press New. There are several waltz styles available in the 3 MIDI superstyle sets, so I'm going to enter a waltz progression into RealBand to start off here. First, I'll set the time signature to 3. I'll set the tempo to 90. And I'll start typing in some chords. C, F, C, C again, A minor, G. A handy new shortcut is P to put a part marker into the chord chart. F, G, C, F, C, G, C. And I'll type K16, a shortcut to copy the last 16 bars. I can then right-click on a track and select Generate MIDI Supertrack, which brings up this dialog. You can search through here or use a filter to find exactly what you're looking for. I know I want a waltz, so I'll type that. We can see that there are jazz waltzes for bass, organ, and piano, but the progression I entered is more of a country progression, so I'll filter further by typing country. Which leaves me with these 2 options, country waltzes that were recorded at 85 and 140 beats per minute. Now, because this is MIDI, you don't have to worry about quality of audio stretching. That doesn't even enter into it. Either of these will play at our tempo of 90 beats per minute with no audio stretching required. But musicians play very differently at different tempos, so we'll still want the one that's closest to our song. So I'll pick the 85 beat per minute version. And now it generates the MIDI part based on my chords. And let's check out how this sounds. Now these are called super tracks because they are generated using a different engine than typical MIDI style tracks. Typical MIDI style tracks are generated from C7 patterns in the style and repeat these patterns over any chord. MIDI super tracks use actual MIDI playing from musicians, similar to RealTracks in that regard, so are not based on patterns. This again is John Jarvis playing the chord progression we entered, and it's a much more sophisticated arrangement than a typical MIDI style. This particular one is a solo accompaniment style, which means it works well on its own with no other rhythm section instruments, perfect for backing up a singer or soloist. Now, if you wanted to record a vocal track or a solo over this, you certainly can, on any of these unused tracks. And you'd probably want a metronome click track during recording. RealBand does of course have a metronome, and with RealBand 2012.5, this has been enhanced further with some useful new features. I'll stop this and we'll check out the metronome features. You are now able to specify notes and velocities per beat. By default, we have a louder velocity at beat 1 and quieter ones for beats 2, 3, and 4. There are also some other presets you can use. For example, for jazz, you might want no clicks on beats 1 and 3 with clicks on beats 2 and 4. If you just want a straight-ahead basic click, this button sets them all the same, and this one puts clicks on only 1 and 3. If you wanted an actual note as opposed to a drum hit, you could change this from channel 10 to another channel, and increase the duration of the notes. Our song is a waltz, so I'll select this. And I'll make beats 2 and 3 even quieter, say 60. And maybe I'll change beats 2 and 3 to an open hi-hat. Now I could set this to playback so I always hear it. But one thing that's useful is to actually write it to an unused track. That gives you mute, solo, and volume options right on the main tracks window. It would also let you do things like delete or change certain bars. So I'll do that and write it to track 2. So let's hear how that sounds. And since it's right here on a track, I have immediate access to it, being able to lower the volume, or I could even edit certain bars. Looping certain bars is now a whole lot easier with the new Control Spacebar hotkey combo. I'll highlight bars 7 to 11 and press Control Spacebar. And you can see it's now looping, and the loop button appears active. You can use this feature in the tracks, bars, chords, and audio edit windows. And I'll just control-click on the loop button to turn looping off and continue through the song. Now I mentioned that you could of course record your own vocal line or soloist to an unused track. I'll add a RealTracks soloist. First I'll turn on RealCharts so we'll be able to see the notes being played. And then I'll go to the RealTracks picker to choose a soloist. I'll filter by electric, guitar, solo, waltz. And I'll pick this Brent Mason soloist. Because I selected RealCharts, we can see what Brent is playing in notation. Or on the on-screen fretboard. And there are also some new features in the event list. Here is a list of all the notes that Brent is playing. And now you can easily switch between different event lists with this pull-down menu. Here now is the piano. And you can even see a list of all notes on all tracks, which can be useful in some circumstances. We can see the piano on channel 1, the metronome on channel 10, and the guitar solo on channels 11 through 16. The guitar is on 6 separate channels, so it will display correctly on the 6 different strings in tab and on the fretboard. Now, this is a song we made from scratch, so if we wanted to save it, the handy Favorite Folder dialog now has an option to save song, and it gives you folders that you've used recently. And I'll pick this RealBand Songs folder to save this song. Now, that was showing you how to use a MIDI SuperTracks style just by typing in chords and having the MIDI SuperTracks style play your progression. I also mentioned that you can have MIDI SuperTracks saved in a band-in-a-box song, or have them automatically loaded from a band-in-a-box style. I'll show you that now. I'll click on the style to enter the style picker. Now here are the 3 SuperTracks sets. If I click on these, we'll see all of the band-in-a-box styles that utilize the MIDI SuperTracks from those sets. And we'll check out the All Jazz set. If I click on one, we can see in the memo that this will use 2 MIDI SuperTracks, bass and piano, as well as the Terry Clark Real Drum style. Now I can use this style over any progression I want to enter, or we can load the demo for this style, which is what I'll do. And let's see how that sounds. Now I'll show you just what you can do with editing. Let's say I want a specific figure on both the bass and piano at bar 8. With RealTracks, this would be very difficult to achieve, but with MIDI, it's a snap. I'll open a notation window for the bass, and I'll go into editable notation, and hold delete while clicking on all the notes in bar 8 to remove them. And now I'll enter a little arpeggio over the C minor 7 chord. I'll switch to the piano track and do the same, having the arpeggio playing an octave and a third above. So that sounds pretty cool, but because I entered the notes like that, the velocity is a little high. This is a good opportunity to use the new features in the event list that I showed you before. I'll click on Multi. Now I can see that the notes of the MIDI SuperTracks were around 70 to 90 velocities, whereas the new notes I entered on both the bass and the piano were 127. Because we're viewing both bass and piano in this multi-mode, I can change all of the notes easily. And I'll change all of them to 85. And now when I play it, the balance is a little nicer. Now, of course, as always, if you want to save your song to an audio file that can be burned to CD or sent to a friend, that's easy to do. Just go to the Audio menu and merge audio and VST tracks to either WAV or compressed audio. A new handy feature is that when it's finished, a beep plays, letting you know the rendering is done and the file is ready. This can be useful for longer renders where you leave your computer but want a reminder when it's finished. The jukebox has been enhanced. I've got a jukebox playlist here that plays the short audition demos for RealTracks 155, John Jarvis Pop Piano. The new features here include new jukebox hotkeys. When you're in the jukebox window, you can press O to stop and T to start. This will work as long as the jukebox is visible in the currently active window. If you exit the window, spacebar will stop and resume jukebox play. In the past, stopping by pressing the spacebar would cancel the jukebox functions altogether. But now it just puts the jukebox on hold, and a yellow flash message lets us know it's still in jukebox mode. And when I press spacebar again, the song resumes. And the jukebox functions continue, moving to the next song. When I actually press stop, that takes us out of jukebox mode. So I could continue to play this song, but it wouldn't then continue on to the next song in the list after it was done. You can now import audio to a track simply by right-clicking on the track in question. For example, I'll right-click on track 1, select Import Wave, though it also allows you to select other audio files besides WAV, and you can see that it allows WAV, MP3, WMA, or CDA. I'll pick this WMA band demo of the Razzmatazz Banjo from RealTracks Set 162. This has the banjo along with all of the other new medium Dixieland rhythm section styles from Set 162, including piano, tuba, drums, and acoustic guitar. These audition files are very short clips featuring all of the different RealTracks styles and are accessible in the RealTracks Demos folder in your Band in a Box folder, and also by clicking on the Audition Solo or Audition Band buttons in the RealTracks picker. Another feature designed to make your workflow run a little more smoothly is better handling of audio versus MIDI tracks. If the current track is a blank audio track, if you click on the Notation button, RealBand will ask if it's okay to change the track to a MIDI track, rather than opening an audio edit window. This is because notation is specifically a MIDI feature. Conversely, if you have a blank MIDI track, and then you click on the Audio Edit Window button, RealBand will ask if it's okay to change the track to an audio track. Another improvement is that in the Audio Edit window, the track name combo box now shows the track number in addition to the name for non-blank tracks. We hope you enjoy the new features in RealBand 2012.5, as well as the exciting new RealTracks and MIDI Super Tracks. Have fun!